The Lenovo Legion Go is finally in my hands. I've been waiting for this one for quite some time now. A feature-packed handheld that's different enough to stand out, and different enough for me to care about it. But the big question is, was it worth it? As stated before, I've been waiting for this one for quite some time now. The unboxing experience is remarkably similar to the Steam Deck's own unboxing experience. The unboxing experience isn't really that noteworthy though. It comes with everything you need, such as the charger, the device itself, and a case, and some documentation. So first and foremost, you need to stop putting manuals inside of QR codes. Just print the damn manuals out. So immediately, this will be the first thing you see before you can actually use the device for anything. You will have to set up Windows 11, and setting up Windows 11 may take a little bit of time. You have to sign into your Microsoft account and everything. On top of all of that, it asks you to update the device, and by ask, I mean it forces you to update the device. Every PC handheld will force you to go through this setup process when you get it for the first time. Yes, even the Steam Deck as well. So you'll want to set aside some time. So let's talk about how this controller feels. I think the controller feels much more substantial than the ROG Ally does. The device also feels somewhat more substantial than the Steam Deck itself. When actually in my hands, the device feels quite nice. And yes, there are mouse buttons on the right side of the controller where you're not your palms, but like the inside meat of your fingers would be. And I've seen some concerns as to whether or not you could accidentally trigger the mouse when, just regularly playing games. The chances of that are quite low though. So let's talk about the controls, because what good is this device if the controls suck? And I would say for the most part, the controls are pretty decent. I like the feel of the buttons. I wish the trigger had more throw to it, more of a trigger range, but to be honest, that's kind of a personal preference thing for me. What isn't a personal preference thing though is the D-pad. In most cases, the D-pad works and feels pretty good, all things considered. The big issue is when you try to roll your thumb over the D-pad for fighting games. Some fighting games are more lenient in whether or not you hit your triggers or not. In the case of Injustice and Mortal Kombat, you don't technically need to hit the diagonals to do fireballs. But in the case of Guilty Gear XX Accent Core Plus R, the game is very particular about you hitting your diagonals. As you can see here, I'm rolling my thumb across doing a quarter circle, but as you can see here, sometimes the input just fails to register. But if you press on the D-pad harder, it does actually register the diagonal, meaning you can execute fireballs. And some say, why not just use the thumbsticks to play fighting games with? And the answer is, thumbsticks suck for fighting games. But with a little practice, you can still input Older Souls Dragon Install Instant Kill. So for fighting games, it's not that great, but what about other games that people actually play? Well, let's talk about FPS mode. By flipping a switch at the bottom of the right controller and then attaching a magnetic puck, you can use it as a mouse. And this right here is the key selling point for the Lenovo Legion Go. The mouse works extremely well. The only real issue is that you will need to get used to the mouse, because at first it does feel kind of weird, and in certain cases it may be difficult to use your scroll wheel for many things, at least until you get used to it. But unfortunately, there is one fatal flaw. No per game controls. Yes, you can set custom controls for one of 3 different profiles. The big issue is that there's more than 3 FPSs out there, all of which may have different controls. In the case of Ultrakill, there's a lot of different controls. What Lenovo needs to do is somehow figure out how to set up custom controls per game. Like each game gets its own individual control scheme. You know, the ROG Ally does this already. So yes, the mouse mode does work, and it may be good for games like Valorant, where there aren't a whole lot of keyboard commands. But for RTSs, I don't really think the Legion Go is a good fit. Playing RTSs at an optimal level requires an insane number of keyboard commands, more than what the Legion Go is able to give you. But for mouse-oriented games, like in the case of Phantom Rose 2 Sapphire, a game that's almost entirely mouse-based, it works just fine. Same with something like Slay the Spire. So yes, the mouse mode is mostly a success, but the software needs to be better to accommodate for all of the FPSs out there. So yes, on the topic of controllers, let's talk about how the controller can be detached and then you can just kick back, relax, kick back the kickstand, and just play games. I can tell you right now that's going to be my most used use case for this device. Just kicking back and playing video games like that. It's pretty badass, and there isn't a single PC handheld that lets you do this. yet. Playing games is a blast on this device, like Cyberpunk 2077. The screen looks great in motion. I suppose the only issue with the screen is that the screen is such a high resolution, yet most modern games will not run well on this hardware at that resolution. You will have to lower it down to, say, 1080p, or I guess 1200p more technically. Now we get to talk about Lenovo Space. Lenovo Space is their unique software that's designed to help you get around Windows and stuff. Lenovo Space and the entire design of the Legion Go software, it reminds me of Big Picture mode, but like how it used to look. So the first thing you'll note is that Lenovo has their own game store. Lenovo has more or less partnered up with Games Planet, and because you bought the Legion Go, you get discounts from their websites. Most of the games you find will be available in the form of Steam keys that you can buy and then register onto your Steam account. But quite a few keys are actually for different storefronts. Like for example, Red Dead Redemption 2. They'll give it to you in the form of a Rockstar key instead of a Steam key. Or, if you buy a Ubisoft game, they'll give you a code for Ubisoft Connect, etc, etc. I can safely assume that these are legit key sellers because, Lenovo literally partnered with them, and every game deal advertised throughout the Lenovo app goes through Games Planet, so, yeah. It's pretty deeply integrated. I can't really comment on the value of buying games through Lenovo instead of just buying them on Steam directly, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. That said, the Steam fall sale's coming right around the corner, so we'll see pretty soon. The app also manages all of your installed games, and you can add games through there too. But the box art for the games is weirdly low resolution. I know Fan the Deck talked about this as well, but he's right. It's weirdly low resolution, but there really isn't any per game options, which is unfortunate. The Steam Deck itself launched without per game TDP settings, and I guess so did the Legion Go. So Lenovo, if you're watching my video, please add per game performance settings and per game controller settings as well. Two things that would make this a much more seamless experience. And yes, there's that weird issue where pressing the Legion R button switches whatever menu pops up every other time, and that's really annoying. I've only had this device for about 3 hours, but I've noticed quite a few issues, and I'm not sure that's a good sign. Some of them can be updated though, and I sure hope Lenovo does that, but I think I'll need to spend a week with this device before I fully give my opinion on this device, because maybe it's just the growing pains. Maybe I just need to get used to the device, If you like this video, be sure to press the thumbs up button and spread the good gospel of high-tech lowlife. And if you want to see more high-tech lowlife, be sure to subscribe and press the bell icon for notifications. And for you enlightened individuals, be sure to join my Discord server. And if you wish to support high-tech lowlife, be sure to check out our Patreon page. Links in the description down below.